Welcome to the Quintessential Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Quin Shalloway. On today's episode, we have Sean Maloney, who is a commercial real estate agent and residential in the Phoenixville, Chester, Montgomery County area. So thanks for coming on, Sean.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm what they would call possibly a hybrid agent. I've heard that term before. I don't know if that's an actual term, but I do commercial real estate sales and leasing, and I also do residential sales and leasing. So, and a little bit of everything, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So, my territory, like you said, Montgomery, Chester. I do Bucks County, Delaware County as well. So I cover the Philly suburban counties. Every so often, I might do something in Philadelphia, but mostly it's the suburban areas. So
Okay.
yeah, and my brokerage is Remax Ready, and it's been great. I've been licensed since 2012, and it's been exciting, and I feel like I finally hit my stride now. So treating it like a real business now, instead of transactional, which is sometimes it becomes transactional, moving from transaction to transaction, but now it's more of a business and a consulting part of it as well. So things are going really well, and I feel blessed. So yeah.
Well, that's great news. Yeah. So the reason I had you on, I really think, my listeners hear a lot. We have different people on, agents, title officers, appraisers, just mortgage lenders, things like that. But I've never had someone who does commercial real estate on. And I think it would just be really interesting to just hear what differs from residential. Like, what is commercial real estate compared? Like, give me a little bit of a day-to-day.
So day-to-day for me, I've got everything scheduled out. My schedule is usually at least a week out, schedule-wise. And my primary, role is what I guess you would call like the rainmaker. So I'm the one out there trying to get the business. So most of my day is spent on the phone. Mm-hmm. A lot of time on the phone. I have a pretty big sphere of clients, and so I'm servicing those clients constantly, not only with consulting, but with actually transactions that we're involved in, or putting in bids or offers, or doing some showings, or finding properties for them. That's kind of the biggest ones. That's a lot of what I do is searching or sourcing properties for a specific client. Yeah. So it's almost like placing an order. So a little bit different. The timelines are a lot different. So residential to commercial, my typical close is 90 days minimum.
Why is that?
It's just there's just more due diligence to do. It's not like residential or waiving inspections
so it's not like that in commercial?
It is not like that in commercial.
Okay.
Yeah. Typically there's be some due diligence period. They could be doing anything from, a typical, in home inspection, if you want to call it, or property inspection. And then there's other types of inspections, like we'll just say like environmental inspections.
Yeah.
They could take a long time, maybe get them done in 30 days, but that's a pretty tight timeline. So, there's a lot more involved. There's a lot more, and then typically there's a lender involved. In the commercial lending, you're at least 45 days before you'll even get till it goes to underwriting. Mm-hmm. So a lot more there's a lot more involved, especially with commercial appraisals. They take longer, usually 2 weeks to get back, 3 weeks to get back, depending. I just did an appraisal yesterday, a walkthrough. It's a pretty big property. So it took 2.5, 3 hours to get through the whole property. So the biggest thing is timeline. But transaction wise, it's pretty similar. You have a title company, you have a lender. you have inspections, you have negotiations from those inspections, if need be. But the transaction part, I would say, it just takes longer, but it's pretty similar to residential.
Yeah, it sounds like, I always say from the residential side, which is a lot of what I do, I always say, it's relationship driven. It's not really about numbers. It can get emotional. Does commercial real estate, does it have that type of flair, or is it something else?
It's more ego driven, I would say.
Okay. How's that?
So it seems like everyone thinks that they're not getting a good deal. Like they have to be the one getting the best. Sure. Getting over on the other person, maybe in a way. Or
these are business owners, right? They made their money, and they're trying to make sure it makes sense to do it.
Makes sense, and typically before we're putting offers in, there's a lot of time on my side to vet out the property, to come up with a good idea of what the property's worth before we're making offers. And everyone wants the best deal, right? I mean, they're all number driven. There's a cost of money. There's a specific purpose for the property, meaning, I have clients that don't just buy property for cash flow. So, it could be a strategic purchase. It could be, something that just fits better in their portfolio. So I do have a lot of clients where we shift the portfolio quite a bit, like we're selling and adding, or just adding. It's a business. A lot of them, it's a business. It's a business for them. I have clients where they rely on this money that's how they get income. But I would only say that's half of my clients. The other half, it's more of I don't want to say it's a side business, but they're not relying on that income from their day to day. I mean, they may have a second job, or I wouldn't even say it's a second job. They have two jobs, right? So they have their day job, and then they have their other day job.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's kind of interesting. So from an agent perspective, it almost sounds like you are an external part of their business. I mean, these are all long-term relationships, and you're kind of saying, hey, these are the opportunities. We've been working with each other for a while. This is what I see as, hey, we should pursue this type of thing. It's like we need to update your portfolio, things like that. So a lot of trust is given to you, which is earned, I'm sure. But that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, one thing which is, I don't know if it's unique, but all the clients that I work with, they're all vetted. So I know how much money they have. If we need proof of funds for a purchase, or, I have direct contacts with their lenders. I have, with their bankers. I can get proof of funds or bank letters from them. I don't even have to go through them. I just call the bank. The bank knows me. Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of people bring me opportunities. They say, "Hey, do you have a buyer for this? Can you place this property for us?" And I'll say, "Yes, I can," or "No, I can." And then back to your, when we're shaping portfolios, I have a client. He has a lot of mixed use properties, and he wants to get everything multifamily. He just wants residential multifamily. He wants to get anything that's commercial related, retail related. So. In the past 2 years, we've trimmed all that off, and right now we're looking to. He's got 2 left. We're going to sell those, and we're going to buy something else. So, that's been a little bit of a tough task, because they want a specific type of property, and it's hard to find now. And I can't. I mean, I have them, but they're expensive. So, yeah, it's we talk a lot about what the future looks like. When their loans are maturing, what that's going to look like. We free up cash for certain times. For the future. Like I have a client. He's very sophisticated, and he's been accumulating cash because in the next 5 years, he's got a note that's going to come due. So he doesn't know where the interest rate. We don't really know where the interest rates are going to be. But if they stay where they are, he doesn't want to pay that much for money. So one way to take care of that is just, pay down the debt.
Yeah.
So don't refinance as much debt. So
yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, that's a good little jump into this next part, which is like, in residential, rates are dominating the conversation. And how does that conversation look like on the commercial end? Does it matter as much? I know commercial products are not the same. So
it does. It matters more than I ever thought it would. I think I learned in the past 24 months that interest rates are really it's a zero-sum game right now. It's tough to buy a property and make it cash flow after debt service. So you're basically using all the cash flow to pay all the debt and the expenses. So yeah, that's been tough. It's been tough, and we've been trying to come up with ways to I'm on both sides, so I can see both. Yeah. Both sides of the argument. One is, this property doesn't cash flow or it's negative debt service. Why would I buy it? I'm like, you're right. I'm like, I can't disagree with you. I can't. But then on the other side is I can't slide the price down to the point where it cash flows, because now, I'd be sliding the prices way too low. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of we're stuck in this zero-sum game right now. So it's really hard. We really need. You mentioned interest rates. I'm hoping that they ease a little bit so that we can kind of get a little bit of more movement in the market. As sellers are, I don't want to say they're stingy, but they don't have to sell. So why would they sell for, why would they slide the price down? And it's funny because I know buyers understand this, or I think they do, but they keep saying the same thing. So yeah, it's been a tough battle. It's been a little bit of a battle in the past 24 months, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, even when rates are dropping, people are still trying to figure out, all right, well, maybe they'll drop a little bit more. And with commercial or any type of business, it's just, like you said, cash flow matters a whole lot. And with the purchase power being reduced over these past, 36 months or whatever, I feel like it probably makes these business owners really have to adjust. Okay, what is the goal here, in our business, and can we actually expand the way we thought we could when the money was much cheaper? Now it's not. Now we need to be more tactful, and I think it's definitely. It's really interesting. I heard someone just kind of talk about when they were keeping rates high, and they said it's actually a good thing because it keeps all these zombie companies essentially who were just, now this isn't like probably the clients you're working with, but like the bigger clients where you can just fund so much because the money is so cheap. But I'm sure you see a little bit of that. It's like, how are they making this work? And you were talking about, loans maturing and coming due. What does that, I guess, tell us a little bit about that on the commercial lending side. Like, hey, loans are coming due. Are they just 30-year fixed products, or what does a kind of commercial product look like really?
Typical commercial product's a 5-year balloon. So amortization could be the same, 30, 25 years, 20 years. Typically, it's anywhere between 25 and 30-year amortization, but the loan matures or balloons in 5 years. So the rate can reset. So I would say most of my clients were smart. When the money was cheap, they put 10-year notes together. So they locked in. I have one. We laugh about it now, but he's at 3 1/8 or something like that on millions. So
never getting that again.
Never getting that again. And he's got, I guess, 6 years left on that or something like that. So, but he's in that loan for the 10 years. They call it a swap. I think they call it a swap, a rate swap. So, and then, I do have people that are, they have some loans maturing. But luckily, the properties have appreciated and rents have gone up. So they're not really, they're going to pay more money for that. they're going to pay more for that money, but they've got the rent rolls to cover it. So, but some of the other, coming up with other scenarios to try to make these work. Last year, I put, I talked sellers into doing their own financing. I said, why don't you become the bank? It was funny because we sold a property and the seller financed all of it. And he was making more on the financing than he was as the rental property. Yeah. So
I guess, how about this? We'll take a minute here. Why don't you tell us what seller financing is and how it benefits the seller and maybe the buyer as well?
Yeah. So one way is, I'm trying to create this market where it works for the buyer and works for the seller. The buyer doesn't want to pay this price, but how does the seller, get what he wants out of it? But I've convinced people, like, maybe you're going to just have to do this over time. So you're going to get a lower price now, but you're going to capture this back in interest. I mean, I've made this, and it's true. I put over $3 million in seller financing together for some deals to get these deals done. And tax wise, you take it in installments, so it's helps a little bit that way. But people are realizing that, and this is at 8%. So we've financed at 8%, which looks really, then it was like, okay, it's about what you could get commercially anyway. Yeah. But, and it also saves on the buy side. So on the buy side, you have a lot of lender costs, especially in commercial. You could be paying 1 to 2 points. You have appraisal fees, long timeline. We can get these done much quicker. And the seller becomes the bank. Now, the deals that I've done, it's with buyers that I know. So these buyers are, they're very well funded. They have, they have equity. They have, so it's not like I'm just pulling somebody off the street and just saying, hey, you want to do seller financing? So we vet people out just like, or underwrite, you would say, underwrite somebody just like a bank would. What assets do you have? And you probably hear a lot of this on the internet or on other podcasts about seller financing. And people ask me all the time, like off the street, like, hey, would your seller be interested in financing? I'm like, yeah, but like, how are you going to pay him back? Like, if the property is just about cash flowing, how are you going to pay him back? So it sounds great and it does work in certain situations, but I don't know if it would work in every situation, especially if someone needs the cash to move on to the next property. So people have said that to me before. They're like, well, if they don't have the cash, if you don't have the cash to lend somebody and you need the cash from the sale, like it's not going to work in every situation. Yeah. So, but it has created some opportunity for me to get some deals closed.
Yeah. And that's what you need in a lot of ways. It's like, what are the options? Like, how do we get this fish in the boat type deal? It's like there are creative ways to finance, and that, financing is probably one of the biggest roadblocks in any transaction. So if you can come to them with good solutions, that's going to be a great value to them. All right. So like typical clients, local business owners, investors, chains, like who do you work with exactly? You mentioned you're a hybrid agent at Remax. You're not at like one of the larger commercial brokers. How did you find those clients? Who are those clients?
So, I guess I work a lot in Phoenixville. I do a lot of work in Phoenixville and the surrounding areas. Yeah. But I would say most of them came from referrals. It's funny. I actually met one of them. We were walking down the street, and I was standing in front of a property that I was showing, and he asked me to if I would show it to him. He said, "Hey, I just want to go in and see it." And I'm like, "Sure." Like I got done my showing, so I took him in, and then we were walking down. This is right in Phoenixville. He's like, "I own those 2 properties there." I said, "Oh." I said, "Well, would you want to sell them?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am. I'm looking to sell them because all my other property is in Westchester." So what I found out from that, this guy was like a multi-millionaire. I had no idea,
Yeah.
And that was just from, it's just a random story, but most of those people came through some type of referral and or, meeting them at maybe at an event or a networking event. And that's why I kind of like always lean towards this commercial piece, because that seemed to be something I had experience in personally. So it's more of a natural conversation for me. Not that I don't know. I don't want to say resident. They're really the same thing. They are. They just, the transactions are a little bit different. But I would say referrals from my sphere, and I've just been building this client base. So now I'm at the point where my clients refer me to their friends, their family. I sold somebody's, their father was selling their house, so I sold their house for them. And but I would say that mostly it comes from some networking and referrals. Yeah. And then I should say, with the listings bring you leads. You've probably heard that before. Yeah. Like listings get you leads. So my listings are on LoopNet. They're on Crexy, which is another commercial listing platform. So I would say a lot of leads come from there too. So that's been one of my goals, is to try to build my my network a little bit more. So building my network. And you mentioned about chains. I did hook up with a commercial. They do site selection for commercial businesses, like mostly automotive related. So Pep Boys, I think Meineke, Midas, those types of businesses. So I'm interested because I just sold a couple commercial. I just sold an auto body shop. I just sold a warehouse recently. So I think it would be maybe a goal of mine is to start helping with site selection. I would really, actually, if I had my dream, I'd like to maybe travel the country and then just to help with site selection, because I think that would be a lot of fun. Plus, I have the time. I think I have the knowledge now. I feel comfortable that I could do something like that. So it's mostly local businesses. My clients are local, but I would love to branch out and do something a little bit more nationally.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's interesting. So, all right, let's go into kind of the local angle of all of this. Phoenixville, like what spaces are in demand? Like, what do you see growing in the area? Like, everybody says brew pubs or something like that, but what specifically are you seeing from the commercial side?
Believe it or not, office.
Really?
Yes. I have 8 months ago, I had an office space listed. I couldn't give it away. And now I'm getting calls for offices all the time. And I just leased up, it's not a lot of space, but about 10,000 square feet over a couple different properties. But one was kind of random. Somebody called me and said, "Hey, do you have any office space available?" I had a client that was had a space that was vacant, and he wasn't sure what he was going to do with it. And I said, "Hey, look, I have this person looking for some office space. What do you think?" And we took him through. We got a contract, and now he's fitting out the whole space for them. So I talked him into, or not talked him into, but he agreed to basically, put everything in there. It's like going to be a brand new office space for them. So it's going to be really nice. So, and then I just had a client. We sold his building. He doesn't close till December, but he's like, "I need an office," and I'm like, "Geez," I'm out of office space. So I found a commercial space for him, and we quickly got a lease done for him. So I just got that inked up yesterday. So yeah. So believe it or not, office. I've got a lot of. I got a lead for like a massage therapist. Like, they need spaces to do to work to work on, for people to come. So, so a little bit of like mostly local small businesses are, I guess, COVID's over, right? I guess.
Yeah.
And it's tough to work out of your house anymore, especially if you're a massage therapist. I always wondered about that. I'm like, you can give a massage on the street or something like that. You got to have somewhere to do it. So, so I think these businesses are slowly, it's like, okay, we need to come out of the basement and start. But yeah, I bet I've had a spike in office space. I said that, I think I said that on Instagram a couple months ago or something like that. Yeah. So
that's interesting. I mean, it makes sense where, a couple of years removed from COVID, people are going back to the office. They're like, all right, let's start expanding. The economy's getting better. We're going to bulk up, and we're going to pray those rates go down on the macro level, and then our business is going to keep growing. I always think when I'm walking down, Bridge in Phoenixville, a lot of people will just say, oh, I wish this was here or that was here. How hard is that when a owner says, I feel like there's an opportunity to do this on this specific street? How do you kind of work through those ideas with prospective business owners?
I'm actually working on an assignment now. I have a property in town. It's the old Wells Fargo Bank. So it's a huge bank building. It's got
people love to retrofit banks.
So we did a whole 360 for them. We came up with now it was listed before and it wasn't successful in getting anyone. I don't know too much of what went on, but I had a long conversation with the owner. I said, look, it's been listed before. What do you want to do here? Where are we going to head? And so I gave him 3 ideas, and we actually modeled the businesses and said, we think these 3 businesses will profit here the best, or would work in the town. And we, in a way, created a pro forma of like what they needed to break even. And so we kind of backed into a rent, and what would it look like to have that type of tenant there. Probably the most expensive one would be a restaurant, because the space has to be fitted out for that. So there'll be an investment, maybe possibly from the owner themselves, and or you have to get that's the most expensive one. But I've also given him opportunity of like, hey, you own this space. Why don't you put a business in here? So we did a business model for a gym. We thought that would be a really great. I thought it would
big
be
open space area.
Open space.
Yeah.
Is
there a gym on Bridge right now?
There is not a gym on Bridge. Yeah. So I said, look, if you had a gym, because I live in town, I said I'll join. Plus he owns over 100 doors in town. I said, just offer a membership to everybody, and see if half of them take it, or something. So. Just coming up with a creative way to, you make the best use of the space. But
so when you're doing that and you're kind of like figuring out plans for a different use of a property, are you doing anything with the township, or are you kind of putting that all on the buyer and saying, hey, this is what you can do during due diligence or that type of thing?
No. I'm actually in the borough's good graces right now. And they're actually very helpful. I do have to say, Phoenixville has a great government, and a great codes department, and they are very helpful, and they want the town to grow, and they want to see businesses come in. So, and then we have a great borough manager as well. So, and just being through that process so many times, it's I know what'll work and what won't work, or what we'll have to do. And most of my clients are sophisticated enough that know that, hey, this is probably going to take some type of approval. I mean, anything needs an approval, but knowing the zonings, right? I mean, I'm very familiar with the zoning, so I know it's by right and things like that. So, actually, I just put a tenant in a property on Bridge Street, and there's a business use application that has to be filled out. So we actually helped them fill it out. We filled it out for him. Not that you're not allowed to, but we filled it out for him, told him what to do. You submit it, and we basically just say, if you have any problems, just let us know, because we do have a relationship with the borough, and, you know, we can help them along if needed. So plus we have architects, engineers, and, you know, I have a whole, like in my sphere, I have, you know, all the right people to help the process. So yeah, so we do help with that. We do consult on that. I mean, I can't. I help them as much as I can, and then if we need to take it a step further, you know, we'll get if we have to go through. I've been through zoning before. We had to go through a zoning hearing to get the zoning changed on a property. I've done that twice. So so I have an attorney that'll do it for them. I have architects that can draw up drawings. I have people who can do parking studies, like whatever we have to go through. You know, I've done that twice. So and I feel like that seems like a tough process, but it's really not that bad. So yeah, so we can help consult on that as well. So
I always tell people, I'm like, you got to go with the people who know the most people and also can give you solutions. And it sounds like, you know, especially when you're so integrated in a community, that is extremely valuable, because it's like, hey, I have this idea, I have the money, how can we get this accomplished? And, you know, if you're able to advise on that, that's the value there is you can't even quantify that. Why don't do you have like a success story for some local business that you have basically, you know, presented an idea to place them, or maybe to sell a tricky property? That what comes to mind when I say something like that?
This was a while ago, but I had a seller. He wanted to sell 3 properties and do a 1031 tax exchange. So, and the hardest part of that is finding the replacement property. So
in the timeline,
yeah. Right? So, I actually, I had the buyers for the properties. So, I had a buyer. He was buying 2 of them, and another buyer buying 1 of them. So now we've got 3 people that I'm, you know, kind of like, you know, handling. And then we actually were struggling to find a replacement property. So, and the seller had a specific requirement. He's like, I'm going to sell these, but I want something in Westchester, and I want it in this, like a 3-block radius. And I was like, geez, okay, that's not really, you know, I mean, but he narrowed it down for me. So I basically just picked up the phone and started calling owners. I mean, I would just call them. And I called and my script was pretty short and direct. You know, I said, I have a client. He's looking to buy a property. He's doing a 1031 tax exchange. We've identified your property as a potential replacement property. Do you want to sell it? Yes or no? I said, if it's yes, great. If it's no, no problem. I'm crossing it off my list. I mean, I didn't even let them talk. And, you know, some people are like, well, no, you know, I'm not going to sell it or whatever. And then I got this one person, and I guess he thought I was joking around, but he said, yeah, we'll sell it. I said, great. I said, what's your asking price? And he went on to tell me he wanted $1 million. He's like, I don't want a penny less. I mean, he would just went on and on about, it just wants this $1 million. I said, okay. I'm like, what's your email? I'm sending you a contract right now. And it was like dead silence on the phone. And I said, what's your email? I'm sending the contract now, and I need it signed by the end of the day. And I got it signed by the end of the day.
Oh, so, that's crazy.
And I was coming out on the tail end of this, this period. Like, we had other properties identified, but we didn't, they were kind of like our backups. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, we bought 4 properties. I handled the whole thing.
You cold called and sold $1 million property in one day. That's wild.
Yeah, it was. And at the time, I was like, worked up about it. Like, I didn't really take it all in. Like, oh my gosh, I actually got this done, kind of thing. Because I didn't, like I said, we were going to do it, but we had, our second choice properties. But, and the seller was like, wait a minute. He's like, $1 million. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, you're selling $1 million worth of property. I'm like, and he's like, yeah, but he's like, oh my gosh, I've never bought $1 million property. He was in his head. He was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm buying this $1 million property.
All of a sudden, it just speeds up for them.
Yeah. And it's like, wow. And I said, yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it. And he's like, okay. And, like 2 years later, we were talking again. He's like, yeah. He's like, I still can't believe I bought that $1 million property. I'm like, yeah, but how much is it worth now? And he's like, it's probably worth like $1.5 million. I'm like, yeah, it's worth a lot more money. It's worth a lot more. So that exchange was great because, you know, the property they bought was perfect for him. It was literally a block away from his other properties, and yeah, he did really well with it. And
plus, you saved all the taxes.
Saved all the taxes.
Exchange.
Yeah, saved all the taxes. Yeah. So that was, and I had never really done that before, or I mean, I never had to come up with those type of timelines. So I think I proved to myself that, like, hey, you know, I can, when push comes to shove, I can do it. And someone actually, like, a couple of weeks ago asked me, and they said, you know, it's not like you can create a property out of thin air. I'm like, well, yeah, maybe I can, you know, maybe I might be able to. So yeah, so that was a great deal. That was a great deal. And, that's kind of what kept me pursuing commercial, I think. Probably because of the dollar amounts. You know,
Sure.
so.
Yeah.
So,
There's good money in it,
yeah,
it sounds
yeah,
like.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's very, very neat. Oh, you got any others? That was fun. You got another?
There was a property that I got wind of. It was off market, and I had the buyers. And
how much of this? Hold on. How much of this is kind of you deal making and not having things listed? Because they're just business owners. So, like, you're going to know business owners. You know other agents who know business owners who are trying to move stuff around. How much of this stuff actually hits the market?
I'd say 50% of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends.
So it's a very in the know situation. So if you're not working with a local person, it's going to be tough to get some of these connections.
Yeah.
And you just have that 50% less of an opportunity to get exactly what you want.
Yeah, and I have. I'm working on a deal right now. I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement because. Yeah. So, but that's a huge deal, and I've got my fingers crossed under the table here that it's going to close, you know. But I did have. I mean, this might be a lesson in, you know, listen to what your agent broker is telling you. There was a property off market. I got wind of it. I knew the owner. The owner wanted a specific amount for it. He's like, look, this is what I want. He's like, that's it. And a lot of times these people they're not messing around. They don't want to negotiate, but then I have buyers that want to negotiate, right? So you have this. So I told one buyer, I sent it to him first, and I said, you know, there's no negotiation here. I'm sorry, but this is what he wants for it. So they offered him less, and they made me write it up. And against my, you know, I told him, like, look, I'm telling you, I'm advising you, don't do this. And so I handed it to him in person, and he looked at the first, you know, is it the second page has the amount on it. He looked at the second page of the contract, and he just handed it right back to me. He said, no. He's like, he said, Sean, I told you what I want. So just, you know, that's what I want. So I said, I know. And I was embarrassed. I was actually embarrassed. So I felt bad. And
I've been on that side where I'm like, I do not want to present this, but I have to present this.
So I went to the second buyer and I said, look, I'm sorry, no negotiation, but I'm like, I'm begging you to buy it. I'm like, please buy it. And he didn't like that he couldn't negotiate. It was really tough for him to get over that. But we settled, and the appraisal came back. You know, obviously, he was financing it, but the appraisal came back 20% higher than the purchase price.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, see, I'm like, I told you. But that became like a great property for him. It was already more valuable, you know, after he purchased it. You know, he did quite a bit of renovation to it, and that is an amazing cash flowing property for him. So, I just like that I was able to kind of put him in that position, and I'm so happy that it's really working for him.
Yeah.
And he's a client that will, he'll be retired by 45. He'll definitely be, he's only got a couple years. He doesn't really have to be, like I said, some of these people have 2 jobs,
Yeah.
This is his like second full-time job. And, but he's almost he is at a point where he could just kick his first job. He'd just leave it. So he jokes around. He's like, I'm trying to get fired. And I'm like, well, why are you trying to get fired? You get health care there and stuff like that. It's just stick it out until you just can't do it anymore. But, so a lot of it's fun and funny sometimes. It's personalities and like I mentioned, egos. You have this. I've got to be able to negotiate, and it's sometimes there's times to negotiate and there's times not to negotiate. And I think I've just learned over time that there's just you get. Some people just tell you right off, and that they're not joking. They're not telling the truth. They're like, no, we're not going to take any less, and they don't. I have a client right now. We've had a property on market for a while, and I see their point. They just don't want to sell it any less than the asking price, and it's worth it. It really is, but it doesn't cash flow. So, but I'm torn because I'm advising them, and I'm trying to get a deal done, but it just doesn't look like we're just not going to be able to meet. So unfortunately, I feel like I failed a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure that happens every now and then.
Yeah,
It's just
it does.
not gonna work.
It's but it's just tough, and it's really I've been banging my head against the wall because I can't figure out how to make. I know how to make it work, but it's not going to work for the buyer, and it's not going to work for the seller. So it's probably just going to be on a different timeline. So maybe a year or 2 from now, we'll probably relist and see what happens.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I guess they're, yeah. I have a lot of like little like wins that I have in the back of my head. I feel like, and they've all done something for me, for my confidence, and then also for how I actually see how the market is, and what my place is in the market as being like I consider myself a market maker, and I've done a lot of deals where I'm actually the one that has to create the market. People say, "What's this property worth?" And I say, "Well, there's no real comps for it, or nothing has sold in a while, or it's sometimes it's tough to come up with a list price, but typically I can put it out to some of my buyers and say, what do you think this is worth? It's great to have this sphere. Not only do this dialogue with people that do this for a living, and to get their just to get their input on, hey, I've got this property, I'm going to list it. What are your thoughts? And I've gotten some really good feedback, and I have to say I've gotten some really great ideas from some of my other clients. So I always keep that communication open. I always keep those bridges open. And yeah, it's like I said, it's been great. It's been really great recently. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So like, where should investors or business owners start if they're curious about commercial in your area?
They should give me a call.
Okay. What else?
If you're looking to, I'll just give another example. I had a client, he sent me a property in an area that I know the area, not super well, but I know it pretty well. And he wanted my thoughts on what I thought about the purchase. And so where do you start? Maybe look at the area, look at the demographics, look at, is it growing? Is the population growing? Are you losing population? One, and then proximity, obviously it's location, right? So, So try to look for other sales if they have that type of data, if they can find it. Again, like I'm an agent. I mean, I can pretty much tell them where to look and what's sold and what's appreciating and a good market to buy in. But I would definitely, I would talk to someone who has done multiple transactions in those areas. I would be picking up the phone and calling them. And typically you're going to get an agent or a broker that really knows what they're doing, especially if they're doing a lot of transactions in that area. So, so just going back to that example, immediately I said, what are the taxes? So, when you're looking at a property, when we're valuing properties, taxes are a big one. The other big one is insurance. So, and then how much, I mean, maybe look at yourself, like how much capital do you have? How much capital can you put in? Most of these properties are going to need some type of work, unless you're buying. I mean, there are turnkey properties out there, but you're going to be paying a premium for them. So, I mean, it's area, how much capital you have. Do you have a relationship with I would start with, like you said, a relationship with an agent who can put you in touch with everybody else downline. So lenders, inspectors, lawyers, architects, engineers, all of that. So, I just did something on Instagram where DIY real estate, where you're, so, I mean, some of my clients sometimes go off the reservation. And they try to sell it themselves, kind of thing, which is fine. They can do it, but it's always, but I always get a call like, "What do you think?" Sometimes I'm like, "Well, I think you should let me sell it for you."
Yeah.
We've done this before. You messed it up before. Let's don't go it alone.
Fair.
I don't think anyone should, if you've never done it before, at least get some input. If you're not going to get an agent's input, then get an attorney's input before you do anything.
Yeah.
If you're going to sell your house yourself, you can. But, signing a contract that somebody puts in front of you and you don't understand it, I don't know. I don't know why people do that, especially with the most valuable asset that any one person would have in their lifetime, a piece of real estate. So, yeah, this doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, when the first property that I ever bought, I had an attorney represent me. There was a real estate agent involved too, but there was a little bit to the purchase. So that, not saying it was over the agent's head, but, I had some leases that I had to draft and have signed, and that they all were part of the agreement. And, it did go a little south on us. So I was, happy that I took the advice. That was from a business consultant, actually. So a business consultant said, "Hey, great, you're buying this property, but you really should have this person, representing you or helping you out with it just in case." And that was the best advice ever. Now, I think some people think, well, I don't need an attorney because I have to pay them, right? I have to pay somebody. So, but the amount of money that I paid that attorney, that was the best money I ever spent. That was the best advice I've ever gotten. So, contact someone. I would say I would reach out to a real estate agent that is, that does a lot of work in that area, specifically for exactly what you want, and pretty easy to find. Pretty easy to find, I would say.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Last question, then we're going to wrap this up and you do your plug. So where are you most optimistic? What area in this pocket that you work in are you like, that's an opportunity? I'm 5 years early, but that's an opportunity. I'm talking to business owners. I feel like this is the spot, and we're speculating here, but I think it's fun to do.
I'd have to say Phoenixville.
Okay.
Even though,
why?
Well, it just has another level to go. I mean, we've kind of like, I would say in 2007 and 8, we had a lot of like transactions. We had some transactions, and each time there's data to back it up. It's appreciated incredible by a lot. So, but I think it has another level to go. There's a lot of building that's being. They're going to build another 400 or 500 doors. Residential real estate. They have some 40,000 square foot of retail. So, I just think that there's a whole nother level for it to go. Prices are expensive now, but I just think that it's going to appreciate more than the average. I would say anywhere. I would say anywhere between like Phoenixville and Westchester. I mean, there's still a lot of development that can be done there. Toll Brothers owns a lot of property there. I mean, if you look, there's a lot of land banking out there. I really wish they would start building all their houses right now so we can, fill them up.
Sure.
But I think those areas are going to, I think they're going to boom. I really do. I think they're growing. More people are moving into the area. It's funny because the Philadelphia too. Philadelphia it's crazy. A couple of years ago, they had a glut of inventory, and it seems like they have absorbed all of it, and now they keep going. I don't love Philadelphia. I don't love it from the investment standpoint, because there's a lot of regulation there, a lot. And if you don't understand it, if you do, it's easy, but if you don't, there's a lot of paperwork. So I don't love it for that, but I would say, and I'm leaning more towards commercial, like real commercial, like strip malls, like storage, warehouse, anywhere that we can bring in. I have someone who's looking to, do indoor basketball courts. Pickleball is really big. There's a lot of pickleball courts. So entertainment, I think, in that space where, and there's a lot of property on these corridors heading out in Chester County that are like, it's just sitting there waiting to be developed. I think what's stifling it is kind of like infrastructure, sewer and public utility, things like that. It's not spotty out in those areas, but I'm actually looking at a piece of ground out there to maybe hold on, bank it for a year or 2 or 3 years. So because if public sewer comes through, if they put it in, then that whole area is just going to be completely different. It will change the landscape, but that's probably going to come from a developer, right? Mm-hmm. So they usually lean on the developer to do the infrastructure improvements. So
that's another good point. I just want to say, if your agent is invested in the market, then it should give you confidence to invest in the market, because if their money's in it, then they have skin in the game. And I always say that too. It's like, are you working with an agent who invested in real estate? And so that's really cool to hear that. We didn't even really touch on that. I know that is a lot of your experience in the past, owning different commercial properties and whatnot.
Yeah. And I did. I actually 2 years ago, I bought a property right in downtown Phoenixville. So
you're a believer.
So I'm a believer. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so the opportunity came up, and I'm like, geez, I can't pass this up. So I actually live in town, and my new office will be, it's in the same building. So I have a commercial space on the first floor, and my residence is above it. So
that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm excited about that.
Cool. Yeah. Well, Sean, why don't you plug your contact information? Where can we find you? Where can those business owners reach out to the local commercial real estate agent?
You can find me on Instagram at Sean Maloney Team, at Sean Maloney Team. You can find me on Instagram at Maloney.Sean, at Maloney.Sean. My phone number, 215-783-6543. That's my direct cell. Now I'll probably get all these spam calls, but and then also my website is sean.maloney@remax.net. I think that's my
Great.
I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
So,
well, Thank you so much, Sean. Really appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate having me on here. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Good. All right.